Brethren, lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Thank you so much for joining me once again as we continue to dive into Arsenal news, Arsenal transfer news, and the update generally around the club. Now, there is talk that Arsenal, after completing Gabriel Jesus in the coming days, they will try to sign another striker, and that is the question we are asking and the conversation we're having on this channel in the comment box below in this video or on this video. Which striker would you love to see alongside Gabriel Jesus? Probably one for the bench, not one that is going to start on the pen, on the pitch with Gabriel Jesus, but one that is going to be a backup for Gabriel Jesus. Of course, we have Edin Ketia there. We have Florin Balogun as well, who could go out on loan or stay. Let me know which player would you love to see Arsenal bring in just as a backup to Gabriel Jesus for issues of injuries, rotation, and things like that. Because Eddie and Gabriel, are you okay with that? Anyway, you could let me know as well. But apart from that, we'll talk about the two bids confirmed by Ryan Taylor that Arsenal are launching this week. 60 million euros and above for Raphinha and 40 million euros and above for Lisandro Martinez. So this week could see Arsenal spending over 100 million euros on two players. That is massive. That is absolutely massive. I mean, this week we have agreed 45 plus 40. That is 95 million. For two players. That is Vieira and Gabriel Jesus. If Arsenal can sign players worth 100 million in the next week, that would be massive. That is 200 million spent in a fortnight, 2 weeks. Massive. Arsenal are interested in Seko Fofana, another powerhouse in the midfield, another really big player with a big work rate. Arsenal are interested in him as well. And we'll also talk about Partey and Kieran Tierney, who have now returned for Arsenal. Question: How long can Partey and Kieran Tierney be fit? Hit the like button for me. Let's get this one to 800 likes. Subscribe to the podcast. We're moving very close to 48,000 subscribers. And I'm massively grateful and very thankful to you, lads. Right, let's get into it. Let's start off with Charles Watts, who has confirmed that Thomas Partey and Kieran Tierney are both back fully fit and will be joining Arsenal and the rest of the team for pre-season. We will start the season. Apparently, we are most likely to start the season with both Kieran Tierney and Thomas Partey, and that ultimately means that Arsenal this season will start. Or we have high chances of starting our season with all our full squad and all our 11 players for the starting team available. That is massive because look. One of the reasons I say we had a bad start last campaign is injuries, COVID-19, and the fact that we did our transfers late in the market. Now that we are trying to do our transfers as early as possible, we are getting injury boosts from Kieran Tierney and Thomas Partey. I think that is quite promising to the beginning of the season, which is not going to be very tough, by the way. We start off with Crystal Palace and a couple of other easy games as we try to progress into the harder games in the season. So I think with Arsenal, it's going to be how long can you keep Kieran Tierney and Thomas Partey, fit without injury. With Kieran Tierney, we now know that Arsenal are strongly considering bringing in someone who can rival him. One, who can be a backup. Two, and also someone who can start ahead of him. So for Kieran Tierney, he needs to be very careful when it comes to his fitness levels. Great player, no question. I don't think there's so many players on the market that can be better than him, but he needs to keep fit, right? That's why Arsenal are trying to get Lisandro Martinez. So that's it. Thomas Partey, Arsenal are looking at Seko Fofana. I'll tell you much about that. But before we get into that, let's talk about 100 million euros next week. Let's talk about that. Ryan Taylor has said that Arsenal are preparing bids for two players, and these bids total up to 100 million euros. Lisandro Martinez, Arsenal are set to make their second bid this coming week, and it's going to be above 40 million euros. So it could be 40 million euros, 41, 42. No confirmation there, but it's 40 million euros and above. Raphinha, second bid confirmed, of course, by by the Athletic and David Ornstein, 60 million euros and above. It could go up to 70 million euros. So the question, could we see Arsenal spend 100 million euros on two players shortly after spending 90 million euros, in 1 week on two players in the previous week? I mean, that would be massive. That would be absolutely massive. But like I said with Lisandro Martinez, it's always a question. It's always going to be a question of how much Arsenal can get Ajax to compromise themselves in that deal. That is it, right? How much can we get Ajax to compromise? Can they reduce the asking price to around 35 or 38 million euros? Or can Arsenal pay the 40 million euros? I think it should be around 40 because, listen, yeah, they don't want to sell. They're still adamant. But 50 million euros feels a little bit above the limit. So it's 40 million euros. If Ajax can find, it in them to get to a compromise with Arsenal, 40 million euros, that deal can get done next week. Raphinha, I don't think we're going to get a compromise on this one. I've talked about Arsenal leading the race and the ultimatum and everything. I don't think Arsenal will get a subsidy or a compromise in this deal. If Leeds United are asking for 65 or 70 million euros, then that is what we have to pay, considering that they already have some money in their pockets now for Calvin Phillips from Manchester City. So I don't see how Arsenal do get any favors now from Leeds United. They're not desperate. They're not in a hard position. They can decide to sell. They can decide to keep the player for another year. I know they will not keep him, but let's see how that 100 million euros will be spent next week. In my opinion, both players shouldn't cost 100 million euros, honestly. I think Raphinha, 50 million euros, that is what Arsenal should be paying. And with Lisandro Martinez, 35 million euros. They should cost around 85 million euros. But of course, if you want these players and you want to get the deals done early, you're going to pay over the odds. You're really going to be paying some much more money. And that's what Arsenal are doing at the moment. But anyway, personally, I don't have a problem. It's not my money. It's the money for the club. If we can bring in quality, add to the squad, I'm 100% okay with that. Now, Arsenal are looking at Seko Fofana, another beautiful, brilliant midfielder at Lens in France. And when I look at his profile, he's one of those players that you could think are going to be a backup for Thomas Partey. Gonna try to show you some of his statistics right here. There you go. So if you look at his game, the strongest attributes, you have shots. You have shots you have total shots, which is good, 2.6. You have progressive passes. You have dribbles completed per 90. You're having his non-penalty XG is also very, very high. Touches in the penalty area, non-penalty goals is very high. Non-penalty goals and assists is very high. Progressive carries, averaging 6.49 per 90. Shot creating actions, 3 per 90. That is awesome. And also pass completion standing at 87.7. Which is also high as well. So when I look at when I look at Seko Fofana, if you see him play, I've not seen him play. I've not really seen him play. I've just looked at a couple of videos on YouTube compilations, and then I've done my little research on him from SofaScore and FB Rep. But when you look at his numbers and the strongest attributes of his game, he's much like Thomas Partey, right? Very, very much like Thomas Partey. Now Arsenal interested in him, so and Newcastle. The problem with I have with Seko Fofana, one, he's 27 years of age. Thomas Partey is 27, 28 now. In my opinion, Arsenal should be going for someone who is a little bit younger than Thomas Partey. Of course, we have Albert Samuel Lokonga already in that position. We should bring in someone who's almost 23, 24. If you're looking for someone who to to cover for Thomas Partey when he gets injured. 2, someone who can be used in direct rotation, and also someone who will replace Partey in the future. My instincts tell me that should be someone 23, 24. Someone who's groomable, someone who's going to learn new things and do that. But with Seko Fofana, he is a finished article, actually. And that's why I called him a midfield powerhouse and a midfield dynamite, right? So, same statistics, same numbers at Thomas Partey. I don't think they have so many things in difference. They actually have so many things in similar. One player that has the legs, one player that has the engine. You bring him in Arsenal, he's going to be your focal point, your single pivot, just like Thomas Partey is doing it. £35 million for a backup. I could moan about that, but there is no way I'm gonna moan about that. When Manchester City have signed in Calvin Phillips for 45, right? I'm the same person who just said Arsenal have to do things the way these big clubs are doing them, and I think Arsenal have just started doing that. If you bring in Seko Fofana, it guarantees you that Thomas Partey will not be playing excessive unnecessary minutes, and that is one of the ways we can keep him fit. We need to keep him fit for the big games, for the giant games. But also, it also provides that kind of security that even when Thomas Partey gets injured or Thomas Partey is out of selection, you have a player who can give you at least half or 70% of what Thomas Partey provides. The truth is, be told, yes, the numbers are very, very similar. Thomas Partey's numbers are very similar to Seko Fofana's, and they're very, very similar to Yves Bissouma's. But Partey's talent and ability in that midfield at times cannot be documented. That is the truth. At times, what he does in that midfield is not dominated. Dominating the opponent's midfield, whether they are playing with Rodri, Bernardo Silva, and Kevin De Bruyne, whether they're playing with Fabinho, Thiago Alcantara, and Keita, it doesn't matter. He has been dominating midfields in the Premier League. So it's going to be very hard just to say we have Fofana now and it's going to do the job for us very, very well. So Seko Fofana, brilliant player. Newcastle also interested in the player, and that's why it could be around 34-35. I think, in my opinion, if Arsenal are the only ones interested, it can drop to 25 million euros. But I have a feeling he will end up at Newcastle if Newcastle are serious. I think they can give him more game time at the moment, but it's not a player outblock. It's not a transfer outblock. I would be excited to have him, especially after missing out on Bissouma. I would be excited. Now, Arsenal also interested in another striker after agreeing a deal with Manchester City for Gabriel Jesus at £45 million. Arsenal are trying to secure services of another striker. It is being rumored that Arsenal would love to bring in a striker who has kind of a different kind of dimension to what Gabriel Jesus has, and in my opinion, that is spot on. You want to have a striker who gives you physicality now. You have a striker. You want to have a striker who can give you that aerial prowess. I mean, you need something different. Eddie Nketiah and Gabriel Jesus, in my opinion, are very similar. They can back up. They can back each other up, no problem, because now they're both Arsenal players in the making. But I think you need something different, right? You need something like probably Divock Origi, someone physical, someone good in the air. And it doesn't really mean you have to go for one of the big signings in the summer. You can go for a humble profile, but you can get all those qualities in them. So I mean, I would love to get to your thoughts, to know your thoughts, what kind of striker and what profile you are looking at alongside Gabriel Jesus incoming this summer.